The thick Alberta air was heavy with the scent of oil and damp sand as Shan Funk's boots sank into the earth. Before we continue, please take some time to subscribe to Dailydose, like and share this video. His shift had only just begun, but something about the morning already felt off. Around him, fellow workers rushed to the edge of a growing excavation site, their expressions unreadable, caught somewhere between disbelief and alarm. When Funk finally caught up to them and looked into the pit, he stopped cold. His hands trembled, his breath caught in his throat. Was he imagining things? Or had something ancient, something otherworldly, just emerged from the rock? Shan Funk had seen a lot in his 12 years as a heavy machine operator, buried scrap metal, antique bottles, even the occasional rusted-out relic from decades past. But never anything like this. It was supposed to be a normal day at Millennium Mine in Alberta, Canada. Funk had taken his seat at the controls of his backhoe, like always, ready to dig through the layers of sand, clay, and oil-rich bitumen that blanketed the region. For hours, the work was routine until it wasn't. As the excavator's bucket sank into the earth once more, a loud, unfamiliar crack rang out. Funk froze. He lifted the bucket and dumped its contents, watching as chunks of jagged rock spilled onto the ground. Something about them didn't look right. They shimmered oddly. They were patterned. Curious, he loaded the strange pieces into the back of his truck and walked back to the site to investigate further. That's when he saw it. A jagged line, freshly opened, stretched across the rock wall at the base of the pit. The crack widened as moisture from the ground seeped in. Instinct kicked in. Without waiting for orders or second-guessing himself, Funk grabbed a shovel and began to dig furiously. His muscles ached, his hands blistered, but the adrenaline drowned out the pain. He wasn't alone for long. A crane crew and support team soon arrived, responding to Funk's call for help. Heavy equipment was brought in, planks were laid down for support, and the massive rock began its slow ascent out of the earth. Funk watched with bated breath, heart pounding in anticipation. What he'd glimpsed in that pit had shaken him to his core. As the crane gently lowered the giant slab onto stable ground, the unimaginable happened. A sharp crack pierced the air end, the rock split clean in two. For a moment, the entire site fell silent. Then, as dust settled and fragments fell away, the impossible was revealed. A fossilized dinosaur, so intact it looked like it had been frozen in time. Not just bones, but skin, armor, even remnants of its internal organs. Funk and the team could hardly believe their eyes. Within hours, experts from the Royal Tyrrell Museum of Paleontology arrived. Their jaws dropped. They had been called out for fossil finds before, but never like this. As they carefully excavated and examined the pieces, their excitement only grew. The fossil was nearly flawless, from snout to hips, a rare, once-in-a-lifetime discovery. What Shan Funk had unearthed was a nodosaur, previously unknown species of armored herbivore that roamed the earth over 110 million years ago. Preserved in stone, the creature's features were shockingly clear. Its skin, studded with bony plates, its ribs and stomach contents visible through advanced scanning. This was more than a fossil. It was a biological time capsule. Scientists speculated that the nodosaur had likely died in a flood, its carcass swept out to sea. Gas buildup may have kept it afloat before it finally burst and sank to the ocean floor. There, layer upon layer of sediment encased it, while mineral-rich water seeped into its tissues, replacing bone and skin with stone over millennia. What remained was nothing short of miraculous. Researchers spent 6 years preserving, studying, and reconstructing the nodosaur. Weighing in at over 2,500 pounds in its petrified state, scientists estimate it once roamed the ancient plains at close to 3,000 pounds. Covered in natural armor, it was likely a solitary creature, moving slowly and with purpose an armored tank of its time. Today, this incredible specimen stands on display at the Royal Tyrrell Museum, drawing awe from visitors worldwide. And while scientists continue to study its perfectly preserved remains, one thing remains clear. Shan Funk, on what started as a routine shift, stumbled upon one of the most extraordinary paleontological finds in modern history. But that's not where the story ends. Because thousands of miles away, another discovery, just as astonishing, was quietly unfolding. In the sunlit hills outside Buenos Aires, a farmer named José was about to take a walk through his backyard and into the annals of history. It was Christmas Day. The sun cast long golden rays across the landscape outside Buenos Aires, and José Antonio Neves, a local farmer, decided to take his dog for a walk through the untouched acres behind his property. It was a peaceful traditional fanfare, no guests, just the quiet company of nature and his loyal canine trotting beside him. The riverbank behind his land, overgrown and muddy, was a place he'd never explored deeply. That morning, it was calling to him. As he walked along the edge of the stream, José's gaze caught something unusual, glinting just beneath the surface. Something black, something round, half buried in the mud. He froze. It looked like a massive egg, 3 feet wide, covered in thick, dark crust. His curiosity ignited. He glanced down at his dog, who was already sniffing at the object, tail wagging, intrigued. José knelt beside it and began digging carefully with his hands. The more he cleared, the stranger it seemed. It wasn't an egg, not exactly. It was too hard, too thick. It didn't crack. It resisted the mud like armor. He called his wife breathless. "I think I found a dinosaur egg," he said. She laughed. Surely he was joking. But when she joined him moments later, all laughter faded. Whatever this thing was, it was reeling. It was enormous. They worked together to dig it out, but it wouldn't budge. José knew they needed help. Swallowing his nerves, he called emergency services. The operators seemed skeptical after all. How often do people claim to find dinosaur eggs on Christmas morning? But something in José's voice convinced them. Soon, flashing lights lit up the riverbank. Local police arrived, followed by a crowd of curious neighbors. Then, something unexpected happened. José's dog started barking and growling near the same area where the object had been found. Nose to the ground, tail stiff, the dog seemed to sense there was more hidden beneath the surface. The police brought in 2 archaeologists from a nearby institute to inspect the find. Within minutes, they were stunned. The object was not an egg. It was something far more remarkable. They began excavating the rest of the structure, revealing a scale-like surface that shimmered slightly under the mud. It was heavy, very heavy, and covered in what looked like prehistoric armor. After hours of work, the massive artifact was finally unearthed and carefully transported back to a lab. Testing and analysis followed over several days. The shell-like structure was unlike anything they had seen in the modern era. It was too well preserved to be ordinary and too large to be man-made. Then, finally, the results came in. What José had discovered was the fossilized shell of a Glyptodon prehistoric mammal that once roamed South America over 10,000 years ago. Roughly the size and shape of a Volkswagen Beetle, the Glyptodon resembled a giant armadillo, complete with an armored dome and a clubbed tail. This one, scientists concluded, had likely belonged to a juvenile, which was staggering, considering the shell alone was 3 feet wide. Experts were thrilled. This was one of the best preserved Glyptodon shells ever found in the region. But not everyone was convinced. As news of the discovery spread, skeptics began to speculate. Could it be a hoax? A planted artifact? How could something so ancient, so fragile, survive in such pristine condition for so long? One professor, Dr. Lisser, stepped forward to defend the find. "It is absolutely genuine," he insisted. The structure, the shell's patterns, everything, aligns with what we know about Glyptodons. Its preservation is exceptional, but not impossible given the environment. South America had once teemed with Glyptodons. Their remains have been uncovered in Argentina, Brazil, and Uruguay. But what made José's discovery so special was not just the condition of the shell but where it had been found, in his backyard, buried in a riverbank.